Dev Diary, the international market. Of all the changes I predicted in the future of Hearts of Iron 4, one of them I didn't predict was an inbuilt in-game market. Now, tons of mods have done this, but they're always kind of lacking polish. Like, for instance, it would always be spend political power or spend civilian factories, and you press a decision and you get a bunch of guns out of kind of thin air, to be honest with you. Now, weapons will be added to the market by a AI or a player country, and then you can buy them off the market. So basically, we've seen the introduction of in-game transactions in Hearts of Iron 4. This is what I wanted. Thank you, Paradox. I kid you not, though, this system looks great. And I think this is going to make a really good change to the Hearts of Iron 4 experience. Let's start. The development corner, the international market. Be aware, this will be part of a future expansion that hasn't been announced as of right now. And this is super work in progress. So a lot of things you will see are placeholders and they don't represent the final product. And they might not even work the same way. They might have a second thought. And when they do a play testing, they might actually find out this doesn't kind of work the way they wanted. So they might change it. All right, into the nitty gritty. We're introducing a place for nations to buy and sell equipment, benefiting both the nations with a reward, creating a new way of countries to contribute specialized equipment for said countries, be able to source equipment from other nations as needed, and the majors to set a major standard for commonplace equipment, elevating their superior strategic might. You can put them onto the market to sell equipment. You lose the equipment, but then when someone buys that equipment, they will you'll gain civilian factories worth of that value. Now, this is going to be tough to balance because it's going to be hard to determine from Paradox's perspective how much of a set amount of equipment is worth. What do you think it'd be worth for infantry equipment? Do you think one civilian factory is equivalent of 3,000 guns? Would it be one civilian factory over a set period of time? Would it be permanently? Would you lose that civilian factory? Would that civilian factory transfer your country to their country? Because to be fair, in HOI4, there is no money system. And they have confirmed 100% they're never adding money to HOI4. That may come for Hearts of Iron 5, but it's never going to be in HOI4. The civilian factory systems is the equivalent of money. How will the finished product work, though? That is a very good question, but this is how it represented. It's going to be a new icon at the top of the screen, and here you can put your own equipment on the market and you can buy equipment off the market, and all available contracts will be listed here. So let's just think of the meta of this. So this is going to allow small nations to specialize in certain kinds of equipment. So let's just say you're playing as Hungary and you want to, let's say, make artillery because you want soft attack based infantry to invade the Balkans and make a big fat greater Hungary. You don't have to put any of your mills onto infantry equipment. You can use all of your mills to make artillery. Then you can buy your infantry equipment, the raw guns, off the market, therefore supplementing your economy. This is going to be a massive buff to minor nations because it's going to allow you to diversify your production in many ways you never saw before. On the other end, this is also going to be buff to major powers too, because this is going to be a way of springboarding your economy and making what a war-based, arms dealer-based economy, and using those mills to get civs from selling things on the market. So think of this. At the very start of the game, you usually make civs as Germany. So you'll make mills from the very beginning and for the rest of the game. And you use those mills to sell things on the market to get civs. So you can build an economy of civs, of selling things off the market. That's a completely different play style. So here we've got filter options. So you can select infantry equipment, tanks, planes, and navy too. Okay, that's interesting. There are a lot of focus trees currently at the moment that do have options to buy equipment off the market. A lot of Balkan nations have that ability. It's going to be interesting to see if they enhance those focuses by moving it over to this system that we've currently got on the market. I always love it on a new expansion by going over old focus trees and just seeing things they've tweaked and adjusted. Those little changes make a big difference to the overall game. As you can see, we don't currently have access to anyone's market, so it looks how we can fix that. Market access. All right. So you will need to negotiate market access. Oh, okay. So this is not how I thought it would work. So you need to like almost get like a license agreement with that said nation before it will allow you to purchase weapons and arms off that said country. It'd be kind of cool if when you put things on the market, you could say that you could put it on for everyone regardless of market access so you can get over that hurdle. Like, for instance, if you want to be an anonymous arms dealer, let's say you're playing, let's say Sweden, okay? And Sweden wants to remain neutral, But on the other hand, they don't want to be giving away who they're giving their equipments to. So they won't negotiate market access because that'll make it obvious who they're supplying their arms to. So they'll be able to place their weapons on almost like a black market, which is available to everyone in the world. And first person gets it, first come, first serve, right? I don't like this the way this works because this relies too much on the AI having to interact with you. And to be fair, as we've found with the current license system, it just doesn't work with AI. Most of the time, the AI says no to anything that's beneficial to the player. So in that case, it's a system that I never even used. Can anyone remember the last time in a single player game versus the AI, you got a license off them and it was actually kind of worth your while? I can't even remember. Honestly, whenever they put barriers up like this and they don't allow you to sell to the international market open-endedly and anonymously on like a black market system, I feel like it's limiting the AI's ability to take advantage of this system. So I'm kind of against this. It's interesting to see in a multiplayer setting what difference this will make, because I suppose more players now will make a certain kind of equipment. Let's say, I don't know, a random nation will only make artillery, and then we'll be buying infantry equipment off that said market. That makes a really cool role play style element to a multiplayer game. So you've joined the market here as an American, and I presume these are on our market, or we're purchasing these? Once again, this is hard to make out because these are all placeholders. So I presume that America has the option to buy guns, artillery, and transport planes. And there are 3 options for that, and it representing cost to replay that. And it will also use convoys to, I guess, ship them to your said nation. So here's an example here. You are buying equipment because these are highlighted here. You're choosing to buy infantry equipment. And with this, oh, wow, you're negotiating. You're saying how many guns you want and how many factories you're going to pay for it. Ah, man, the balancing on this, they've got to get just right. Because once again, this might be one of those instances, the AI will never be willing to negotiate anything that's worthwhile. So in that instance, if it works like licensing works at the moment, it's probably a feature I'll never use. Unless I'm playing multiplayer and I want to LARP, I suppose. And there you go. We've sent the request to buy infantry equipment from the kind of pink Peru, and they have accepted that by saying text, 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 text. The contract will now appear in our market window as an ongoing contract and will show all the information you need to know about each contract you have ongoing. I wonder if this has the ability to boost relations as well, seeing as you're technically trading with another nation. So it shows deliveries. It shows when the next delivery will be in 4 days. That's kind of cool. I like it. And it works the same way with selling. You sell equipment. You put the equipment you want to sell on the market too. It doesn't actually say how much of the equipment you're putting on. So this is how I thought it would work. Let's say you want to put infantry equipment on the market and you've got 1,000 of it. So you put 1,000 on the market and the game would calculate like an arbitrary cost for what 1,000 would be worth. So you wouldn't be doing the cost part. And then everyone in the world on the market would see that appear when you put it on the market and then have the option to buy it off you. And it would all be done kind of off screen. And you wouldn't have to be involved in it unless someone purchases it. Then you get a pop to tell you someone's purchased your item. My initial feeling about this is because it requires price setting, AI interactions. It makes me wary that they have to be very careful what they set it to. Because remember, as a player, it has to be worth your while to want to participate in this system. And if it's, for instance, if you are a mining nation and you're paying 2 civvies for 2,000 infantry equipment, it makes you wonder, well, this is not really worth my while, so I'm not going to participate in this system. And once again, getting the AI to be involved in this is going to be mad difficult, because at the minute, the AI never requests license off you, which is a damn shame if you think about it. Particularly if you're like a market lead on that said equipment and no one really bothers buying that equipment from you. Once again, it feels like this is kind of a feature for multiplayer. Single player is not really going to take full advantage of it. A little pro tip for Paradox here, if you're listening. Please don't do, this is a weird example, but what CK3 did with the Royal Court and court positions, where the UI is so unbelievably massive and you have to scroll down like 10 pages to get to the item that you want. I'm glad that they put filters here, and thank you for that. But I feel like if it only shows 3 of these on the screen and I have to start scrolling, it's going to be too much. Just be very careful of the UI. Make everything nice and small so you can click individual bits. If you're scrolling down 10 pages of decisions, I feel like that's too many actions to get to the point you want to be at. Put it that way. Right on time, we got to request to buy some of our equipment. The menu will show you what you are buying, show me what they are buying, and how fast they are paying, and how many of the resultant deliveries there will be will accept this request. And it shows you there's a request being made. So when someone else purchases your equipment that you put on the market, it will give you a pop-up to say if you want to accept it. Ooh. Another point of contention is it'd be kind of cool if there was a toggle button inside of here that just said, please auto accept. That would be kind of cool. And it would kind of play a sound effect in the background to say that an offer has been requested and accepted. Because I really hate the fact in multiplayer, if say you make a brand new fighter and like 20 players request your new fighter, you get 20 pop-ups asking to accept the license, which is just a little bit excessive. It'd be kind of cool if there was just an override that just said auto accept. Just a suggestion. We have started the purchase request, and now we are selling the entry in our master list of contracts along with all the information around that contract. Amazing. Selling to country name, so it shows there's an existing contract currently being offered. So it kind of works a little bit like lend leasing. I wonder if there is an option to not say a set amount of guns, but just like a percentage of production, for instance. I don't know. We'll see. The market access is a diplomat action to request access to the market and offer access to your market. Thus, the bilateral relationship. Faction members also share market access, so do not publish on overlords. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. So you don't need to ask for access if you're inside of a faction or if you are a puppet overlord status. It will automatically have access to each other's markets. I like this as well because I think sometimes in HOI4, you feel disincentivized to join factions unless you're ready for war. I kind of like the idea you can join a faction and take advantage of the bonuses of that faction without necessarily going ahead and calling to arms and going to war. Market access and contracts are cancelled between enemies at war. Makes sense. Embargoing someone will cancel their market access and all selling and buying. That makes sense. Capitulation cancels all contracts, and if the country is not going into exile, it will lose all its market access too. Goes without saying. Civil war will change nothing. The original country will have an original market access, and the contracts will start at the start of the civil war. Kind of cool in a way, because that means you can take advantage of arms being sent to you in a civil war. That's kind of cool. Making a country a puppet will cancel all market access and contracts for the country. Goes without saying. Losing market access to a country will not cancel an ongoing contract with that country. Puppets can have market access to other countries and not just to the overlord's market and trade with them. Makes sense. There will be a scriptable limit on equipment trade for things like US neutrality, for instance. Oh, that's actually really, really cool, because that could mean a change to how America works. What they could do is they could nerf the amount of factories that America has access to, almost adding extra consumer goods. Because once again, I say this over and over again, I think America is too strong in Hearts of Iron 4. It might be historical, that's fine. However, I still feel like from a balancing perspective, America needs some kind of nerf baked into their game. So purchasing equipment costs CIC. We use the conversion ratio to convert IC value to CIC. The contract has two main variables: CIC, cost from equipment, and Civ factory allocation for payment. So with this information, we could talk about how a contract is structured. It talks about CIC here, and it also talks about civilian factory allocation as well. I see. Oh, okay. I've just got it. It's just twigged in my brain now. So the more civilian factories you assign to the contract, the more it will pay out in guns overall. Okay. Interesting. And that kind of does work the way I thought lend leasing does work currently, where you can kind of say send a set amount of guns or a percentage of production, the maximum of 15 civilian factories, which is subject to change depending if they keep that for the rest of the game. So you will have a new stockpile called the market stockpile. Equipment can be moved from the national stockpile to the market stockpile. Equipment in market stockpile can be requested for purchase by any nation who shares market access with. I wonder if they're going to nerf lend leasing, because right now lend leasing, you can kind of milk it and exploit it if you're in a civil war, and you can use that to pull weapons from Italy and the Soviet Union, are the two main nations that you can kind of like yoink equipment from, and they're always willing to give it to you. I wonder if when this new change is introduced, they're only going to be willing to accept it through market access, which is going to be a good change in my opinion. It'll feel less like free equipment and it'll feel more like, well, you're paying for it, I guess. In summary, it looks like this is calculated at the end of the month. There's a 30-day cycle for this. So in summary, it looks like this is updated every 30 days. It gets fed into like a market stockpile, and then the payment is calculated based on the amount of civilian factories you get. And this is like a more complex breakdown. Once again, I'm a hands-on kind of guy. You've heard me say that in 1,000 dev diaries. And to be fair, when I look at this, I'm kind of like, what? Maybe when I play with it and get my hands on it, I might have a better understanding. But for the time being, this is a little bit like, I don't get it. Either side can request to cancel the contract at any time. No more deliveries are made, and all payment to the contract store is returned to the originator. Things that are not part of this feature: trading ships. Even though it shows ships, I presume it's sending convoys. That's what that anchor icon at the top is. You can only send convoys via this method. This will not include money. There's not going to be any food. There's not going to be any money. And there will not be any supply or demand pricing. So the prices won't go up or down like in a Victoria system, depending on the amount of demand for them. Which is kind of sad in a way, because I feel like creating a kind of competitive style market for arms would be kind of cool. Okay. The problem with it, I think the issue is the limitations of HOI4. When you're working with an arbitrary system of civilian factories, you can't really work with the complexities of economy because you're just limited to what numbers can be offered. Things that we are looking into: the limited cost of equipment changes, some active choices and some passive. So it makes me think there are some elements inside of focus trees that could affect the overall pricing of things you purchase on the market. Okay. Q&A. Will we see any changes to the resource market at all alongside this? Unlikely. We are trying to keep these separate from the resource trade. Makes sense. Even though it looks like there's some overlap with convoys used, but overall they are two separate elements. Will old focuses about purchasing arms be reworked, such as France's arms purchases to the US? In the long run, yes. We are trying to get as many of those converted over for the release, but if we miss any, we can tackle them in future war efforts. Future patches, basically. It's kind of an arbitrary system at the moment, that you like spend political power and you get sent guns, but these guns don't come from anywhere because they say that they're coming from the US or coming from the UK. However, it doesn't deduct any guns from that said nation, so it's not really using a market access. Be interesting to see how they'll try and introduce them and use them as a part of old focus trees. Can you buy and sell ships and convoys with the new system? In the section where it says we're not doing, no warships will be sailed by the market due to the conformal ways ships work. Just kind of a shame in a way, because there were ships that were traded within this period. It's the one that I remember is like the Portugal one, asking you to purchase a light cruiser. There's the Indian one to purchase light cruisers from the UK too. It's a shame they don't allow you to purchase the smaller ships, for instance, the destroyers and the cruisers, but maybe leaving off the capital ships. Will there be changes to the military factory distribution so most countries are arms purchasers rather than having their own domestic military industry at the start? Final bounds is still a way off, so I can't comment on this one. Ooh. Okay, let me just explain this. It kind of looks like they're playing with the idea that some nations will start off with no military factories and will rely completely on foreign arms. Because there are a bunch of countries at the very beginning that, if you look into their stockpiles in 1936, at the very beginning, they've got all foreign equipment. For instance, Yugoslavia starts off with a bunch of old French tanks as an example. That is actually a really cool concept. Honestly, I don't think we're going to see that. It's a cool concept, but I don't think we're going to see that in HOI4, because I think that's going to start to rework the existing game mechanics, the way mills actually work and produce equipment. It's really cool though. I'd love to see that in game. It'll be very interesting to see how this works effectively with side by side with Lend-Lease. So there's been a few complaints saying that this feature is too much like Lend-Lease, and it's just basically Lend-Lease, but Lend-Lease shit that you pay for, which I kind of agree with that to a certain degree. Sometimes I just want to get rid of, for example, my basic light tanks for free to any enemy nation in the game who wants them. I don't necessarily desire profit in return. I love to set a selling price to 0 to anyone in the market to acquire them if it wasn't clear to me if I could control the sell price. Bonus points is could I limit some equipment to faction only while other equipment is in the global market? Oh, that is such a good suggestion. This is what I was saying earlier. I need the option to sell it to my local market with a tick box, or sell it to a global market, even a black market. So we're looking into Lend-Lease balance with this, but we'll probably make Lend-Lease a bit stricter, especially in peacetime. It's needed for exploit reasons. We are looking into the price adjustments, but more on that in a future dev diary. Currently no limits to requests, but you can refuse purchase requests if you don't want to actually send the country the specific equipment they request. There's currently no limits to requests, but you can refuse purchase requests if you don't want to actually send that country the specific equipment they request. Okay, this is a really good question. And to be fair, I feel like I would take advantage of this as well. The idea that you could just put something on the black market at a very low cost for anyone can access internationally, that's really cool. The idea it has to limit me to a specific market or within a specific faction kind of disappoints me just a little bit. I wonder if there would be an option, let's say, as the US or the UK, and being in a really big major faction, and then not even participating in the war, but just putting loads of equipment onto your market and just profiting from all of that. That would be so unbelievably cool. Black market, international black market. Give me the option, Paradox. Guys, do you want more up-to-date information on the future expansion packs for Hard Surviving 4 and future dev diaries? Subscribe to this channel. And if you want to check out more Hard Surviving 4 content, well, check this video out. This one right here. This one. Give it a click.